welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you all are doing good. So this is going to be a very interesting topic that we're going to talk about today. Also, it's going to be very informative as well. And maybe I'm saying a lot of you may like it as well, and find it very interesting as well. Now, why I'm giving so hype to this is because even personally, I just learned about this last week, and I thought, hey, why not? Let me share it with the fellow subscribers as well, or the people that they are looking out there, such kind of solutions. Now, what this topic is all about, I'm talking about is it's just that reading Excel file using UiPath. Now you may be wondering, hey, why she's talking about reading an Excel file using UiPath? We have multiple ways to do it. But did you know you can read the Excel file using database activities? Not Excel application scope like classic or modern Excel scopes or workbooks, so on and so forth, but using database activities. Right? Interesting, right? So yeah, that's what we're gonna dive into today. Now, before we get started, I'll take only few seconds from your end. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do go and subscribe to it. It helps a lot for me. And while you are at it, make sure you share, subscribe, or even like or comment. Even if you're not liking about this topic, dislike anything, just that it helps a lot of viewers out there. I mean, people who are looking for such kind of solutions, it reaches to them. My agenda of this entire uh, uh, channel is to help out those people who are looking for such kind of solutions for the use cases, right? Now, without ado, let's get started. So for this, I have to open a UiPath Studio. I have a community edition that I have installed. And I will show you something in the package. I have two packages that I have used. One is database and system activity. So there is nothing you can see here regarding Excel application scope. Now, I'll just keep a database search in the activity so that it's easy for me to drag and drop. Now, before I start with the coding, let me show you an Excel file. Okay, so this is my Excel file. I don't need sheet 2, so let me delete that sheet 2. Okay, so this is the data that I have. So it has ID, name, age, city, salary, and state of employment, whether they are active or inactive. Now, if you must see, I have almost more than 1,70,000 or 700 records are there. Now, the solution that I'm going to talk about is using database activity. I'm going to read this Excel file, and let's see if time permits, if I'm able to perform any kind of alteration with this particular data using database itself, not using Excel file at all. We are not going to touch Excel activities at all here. Okay. I'll also provide at the end of the session, there are limitations that I'm going to explain, because you have to be very cautious when you use this database activity, and it should be your last resort, because UiPath already providing you your modern activities, classic activities, right? So this should be your last resort when you deal with the Excel data manipulations. Okay. Having said that, let's just get started with the coding. You should have whenever you deal with database, you should always have one thing, or basically two things. One is the connect and disconnect, right? In between, you can either have a query or perform insert, so and so forth activities. First, I need to have my database connection established. Now, to establish this connection, we need to provide a provider string. Now, for the provider string, let me explain. You just have to remember this syntax. It is almost similar for all our database providers provider string. Okay, I'm just gonna zoom in a bit. Bear with me. Okay, so this it's simple. Okay, if you I'll give you a syntax. First is the provider. So this is names constant. Now the provider, it should have a provider name. Okay, provider name, and then semicolon. Next, data source. Now this data source, let me make it as capitalized. Okay, again equal your data source. I'll just mention DS name. Okay. Data source name. Again, follow. Next would be your extended properties. Okay. Properties. Again, equal to your property key name. Okay. Now, semicolon. So this is almost your, in most of your database connection, this is your syntax that usually defines in this manner. Now let me open Notepad. I'll paste it over here. Okay. Oops, sorry. Let me go back. Right. So this is my Notepad. I have pasted the value over here. Now let us add the informations here, like the provider name, data source, and then extended property. Now I'll explain provider name. For database connecting to Excel file, there are two things that is available as a provider name, which is basically you need to provide the driver name. So the driver name is in whichever the Excel driver which is installed in your machine. So there are two drivers usually available in, okay. So which is first one is Microsoft dot ace dot oledb dot 12.0. So this is the one of the driver that is available. That is what we are going to use. But why we are going to use this driver is, I'll paste it over here. I'll explain why I'm using this is that this driver is suitable for .xlsx or .xls. Also, I'll do one thing. Also, this one is supported for if you have an Excel version of 2007 above or beyond, sorry, above 2007 Excel files, you can go with this one. Okay. There is one more available, which is called same thing. I'll just copy and paste it here. I just need to change a couple of things. Oh, my bad. So this is dot. Okay, I messed out. Let me remove this thing and here. Okay. So now here, instead of ACE, it's a JET, JET. Okay. JET, OLEB, instead of 12, it's a 4. Now, this one is used for only, okay, remember, it's used for only .xls files. Okay. It only supports that file. Also, it is older version of Excel file, which is basically runs in 32 bit machines. Okay. Older Excel file which runs in 32-bit machines. I think this one, if I'm not wrong, this is deprecated and we have this one right now. Anyway, my laptop supports this driver, or my laptop has this driver, so I'm going to use this one. And then DS name. So the DS name is nothing but the data source. Now, what we are dealing here, we are trying to read the Excel file. Now, to read that Excel file, we need the Excel file path, right? Without that, how you going to read it? Even if you're going to use Excel application scope, modern, classic, whatever it is, you ultimately have to provide the file path name. Same thing that we are going to do right now. We need to provide the file path. So this is my file that I have showed you earlier. I'm just going to copy the path of it. And yeah, my bad. Sorry. Let me go back to this. Let's create a variable here. I'll just keep that over here. Let's save this. Okay. Excel file path. Excel path. Okay. I'll provide the path. I'll save it over here, but this is my variable. So I'm going to copy this variable. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to mention that name over here. But be aware. Now you just create this. You consider that this is a variable, right? Which means you need to mention between the ampersand. Remember, okay, this I think deals similar to how you write a code in VBA when you VBA macro I'm talking about. There you actually whenever you try to concatenate two strings, you give ampersand, right? Not the plus. In UiPath you give plus, but in macro you give ampersand. Remember this, okay? Same thing you do here also, ampersand, not plus. Okay, just remember that. Next is the, you gave the path, you have done with the driver. Next is you need to provide the extended property. So the extended property, I'll just write down first, okay? Once I write down all of the extended property information, and then I'll explain it to you what exactly it is. Because if I explain one by one, it doesn't make sense for you. So let me just write it down. Next is XML, and then we have to give HDR equal to yes, then IMEX equal to 0. Okay. Let me explain what this is. So extended properties that you see over here, this entire thing helps when it runs, it helps the robot to understand how the Excel file should be treated. Let me explain. The Excel 12.0 XML is nothing but the driver name, which is basically it tells the robot that, hey, see, we are dealing with Excel file, which is 2007 plus versions. Okay. And we are dealing with, it can be either xlsx or it can be of uh, XLS format. Okay. Now the next point is the HDR. HDR is nothing but header row. Now, header row, if you set to yes, it means that you're saying that the first row in your Excel file is the header. If it is set to no, then it means that there is no header row. So it will automatically assumes gives a unique row to header to it, header name to it, which is basically F1, F2, F3, so and so forth. Now, think about it in this way. In UiPath also you have the same thing. If you have used read range and add header property set, then it would consider that whatever you're providing the range, that from that point onwards, the first row is the header. Here also the same concept. If you're uncheck that particular checkbox in UiPath activities of Excel automations, it means that whatever the first row that's that, it doesn't have a header, so it's gonna give each unique column name to it. Same thing is happening over here. Now, IMEX is nothing but it means import export mode. Now, if you set to 1, it means read only activated. In UiPath Excel, automation, you have read only properties, right? Excel applications and everything. You can set it as a read only operations. Even if someone has opened that Excel file and you don't have to worry about it, or if password is protected, don't have to worry about it because you're doing in a read range property or reading the data only. Now, if you set to 0, it means that read or write. Okay, if you set to, there is one more option set to true, which is never used or in very rare case scenarios it is used. It's a when it is equal to 2, it means it's very, as I mentioned, it's very rarely used, and it means that it is link read and write mode, which even I was not properly aware about it much because I don't see much differences in terms of execution aspect of it. But the OLEDB, I mean, the support states that you shouldn't use or rely on IMEX equal to 2 value. Okay, it's very rare. I don't think much it is used anywhere at all. Okay, now going back to our scenario. Now this is my provider that is ready. So I'm just gonna copy this, going back to my string, and I'm gonna replace this over here. Okay. Now you may have noticed that earlier I've selected this as a system.data.oleb. The reason is that if I didn't select it, it would have kept it in an error option. Now let me show you what I meant as. This is what I selected earlier, right? So I'm just gonna control X. Okay, see, I told you, right? There will be an error it will show. So I'm just gonna paste back it, whatever it was is there. So you have to select that connection. Now we are done with the connections. So let me provide the output variable of the database connection, DB connection. It's done. Okay, now I have given the database connection. Now I'll also provide disconnect because we connected and disconnected. Okay, this is the two things that we need to do, or that we need to make sure that whenever we use a database activity, two things are always exist: connect and disconnect. Now connect, after the connection, we need to understand, right, whether it is connected successfully or not. So let me open this, and which is called run query, and provide the existing connection, DB connection. And then I'm just gonna write a query which is already here. It's, as you see, I'm just gonna zoom in. So what I'm trying to write is that select everything from sheet 1. That is what I'm trying to give. So I have given, and I'll output as DT. I'll just mention that output. Now let me take up a log message. Okay, I'll paste it over here, and then I'll go back and keep the database search as is. Now let me mention that, yeah, whatever it is, it was there. No, let me just keep it as is. It was saying tab. Just give a tab. So the good thing, okay, so let me explain one interesting that I have noticed. Okay, let me do Control Z. Now you see here, there is something in the back end. You could see it was giving me a hint that what I can print in the log. Same thing happened earlier also when I was trying to run a query. It was giving me a sample query, right? I just did hit tab. That was a late. I think this is available in the latest version, which is very cool feature. It avoids a lot of time to spend on it to type everything over there, right? This is a cool feature that I noticed. Okay, anyway, let's get back to our concept. Now, what I have done the connect, I have ran the query, I have logged the message, and I disconnected from the Excel file. So let's run and see how things are going. So, okay, so some issue happened over here. Now, let's see what happened. Oh, no. Why did it create this file? Okay, there is some issue with the connection string that we provided. Let's go back and review our connection string. Here is the connection issue. I need to, so this is a variable, right? So I need to mention that this should be outside the double quotes. Now it should work. Let's see. Let's run and see. It ran. It hardly took few minutes. And there you go. 1,700,000 records, which is actually what we had, right? Now, so you got the concept, and it took how much? 5 seconds. Only 5 seconds it took to read the data. That too, which had almost uh, more than 1 lakh records. Now, what we understood from here is that we can actually read the data from Excel file without using Excel application scope or any Excel automation activities using UiPath. Now, can we make any changes to the Excel file? Of course, we can make changes to the Excel file. So, for that, you need to use again. I can use this run query again. I'll use the run query, but I'll use a query stating that update. I'll use update query, update the Excel file sheet. Okay, set. Let me open the file again. This is my column. I'm just gonna say set this column. So yeah, this column. Okay, to inactive. Sorry, my bad. Inactive, where ID equal to, this is my ID, right? So okay, let me go back. Let me see what is the format of this. This is a text format, right? So we need to make sure that we are giving the ID in text itself. Done. I have updated this again, and then this one. So basically, this should convert the active into inactive. Let's see if that does, if it works or not. Okay, it completed its run. So let's see. See, wow. That's what I was trying to say, that you can actually update the records. You can read the data from database activity. Now let's think about, or let's talk about the limitations. Okay, let's see. Before even talking about the limitations, I just want to try one more thing with you all. Is that this one I didn't try earlier, earlier in the sense last week when I was actually working on one of the project. But let me try this one with in front of you right away, which is will be a live test and understanding with you guys as well. That if at all a certain cell is blank, okay, now I need to write the data into in this particular value. So let's see if it is able to do so. I'll use the same query. I won't make any changes to it. Let's see if it can write back the data. It ran perfectly fine. Let me open it. And it did. Wow, that's what I was trying to understand. So, uh, what my intention was that assume that there is certain columns empty or something. Sorry, certain field is empty in the particular cell, and you want to update it using UiPath based on certain conditions. Now that can be done. That is what I wanted to check with you all, and we have a proof over here. So let's talk about the limitations of having um, the database connection rather than or going with the database connection rather than going with the traditional UiPath uh, uh, approaches. So one first and foremost that I have noticed is that the limitation which it supports for writing the data or reading the data. So for example, it can read the data easily. You have already seen it very fast. But when it comes to inserting the data, right, inserting or deleting the data something, it would be bit difficult, or it can be it can support in some of the Excel, but it can also be very unreliable. I would say that in one of the scenario that I had earlier where it was not able to delete it, but if a Excel file is simple and everything, it can actually go ahead and update the update and insert the records and everything. But there is a possibility that it is very unstable in that area. And then another thing is that it even though it runs perfectly fine, updating the records, so on and so forth, it fails and it you won't even get to know what is the error. That happened earlier also with me. So that is what I was saying, that it is quite unreliable in terms of that aspect. And then you have to make sure that the schema interference and everything. You have to make sure that the column. So okay, I'll give you an example. Let me open that Excel file. So you could see here, right? They have given underscore. So if you have spaces in between, extra special characters in the header, it actually leads into a bit of a complication while performing the updating the data into the Excel files, or say even if you want to try to upload or insert records, so on and so forth. Now, performance aspect of it, I would say it's quite good when you try to read it and everything, but when you try to update it, uh, it's a bit slower compared to workbook, I would say. I mean, based on the experience that I had with my files, which is file size is huge, and the I tried parallelly workbook. I'm comparing with the workbook, not the Excel application scope. Workbook versus database update activity. I prefer workbook because if you say, there I'm just writing basically writing back to the data in one particular sheet, right? It would be quite few minutes. But in here, I'm trying to update on a certain factors, and it may take if your file size is huge, it may take some time for that. Um, Now, if your file is another thing is that it's your file must be closed when you operate these database connections. Otherwise, it may end up erroring out. Sometimes it does support, but again, as I mentioned, it is very unreliable when you're dealing with the update and everything. So these are quite few observations that I have done last week. Since it was recently that I have discovered about this, these are the couple of points that I've identified while working on it. However, see, if whatever the activity that you use, if all the activities, there may be some flaws or something that is there. Okay, so it's just that which activity supports for your project is what you need to understand. Now, for example, if I go with the Excel applications, compare between Excel application scope and workbook. Workbook is way faster, and workbook, irrespective of what the uh, formatting and everything, workbook is way faster than Excel application scope. You don't have to have Excel installed for the workbook activity, but you have to have the Excel version installed in wherever you are running for Excel application scope. So these are the quite few things that are there. Okay, so you have to understand which of these activity will help you for your project is what you need to determine, and you need to decide, and you need to use those activity. So I just gave an example here that this is way also you can read the data, perform the updation, because when you're dealing with a very large amount of data reading, right? So sometimes even the workbook or the read range takes time, but with the database activity, it is quite faster compared to any other workbook or the Excel applications. When you're dealing with huge number of data in the files, and size is huge. Reading is way faster, but updating the data, I do not recommend using database activity. I recommend go with the UiPath provided activity, which is like spend range, workbook activity, Excel application scopes, modern or modern experience, whatever it is. Okay, so I hope this content helped you to understand how you can perform a database connection, and understand how you can run a query, basically select query, update query, etc. Based to an Excel file, not to any database actions, but to an Excel file. And also, some of you may be actually looking for solution or a some way out, right? So, for example, even I was actually looking for connecting to a database, understand how the connection works and everything, but I do not have a database with me, like the Oracle database or SQL database with me, to perform these or to understand how these activities work. Now, since I'm able to connect to Excel file, now I can actually understand how these all these database activities can work, and how I can utilize them, even for if at all I ended up in having a project which deals with database, I will have some idea how the activities are working. Okay. So that's it for today. I hope this content is useful and informative for you. And for such more content, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you in soon. Until then, stay safe. Take care. Bye.